All right, let me see if this works. You guys hear me all right? Probably getting a notification. Hello? Anybody? Anybody? Test. There we go. All right. Well, we'll see. It's working for right now. But we'll check this out. See if anybody can see me. I don't know. We started out fine, I think, and then it went to shit, and now I see like even lag within my own voice in OBS. Hey, Ryan, good to see you. From the top. From the top. I'll have to check. Something's definitely amok. I don't know. Maybe I don't have my OBS settings right, but that's not your fault. People should get notified. I don't know. I'm trying to pull up Discord and it's taking forever. So I can share the link. We'll see. Yeah. Yeah, good times. Good times. There we go. I have to reset things up, I think, for the most part. Hey, Robert Haight, good to see you. I don't know if you joined earlier because it was a mess. But nonetheless, I'm back. I don't know. We'll see how the quality is. I like both videos. You're an overachiever, Ryan. I appreciate it. Thanks. Ugh. Oh, yay. What am I doing? I am... Oh, you logged in right after I crashed? That's fantastic. Discord is still not started. I clicked it a minute ago. So, yeah, I'm sure shit's going to hit the fan here in a second. Oh, God. That's why it pays to subscribe. And if you have notifications on. Or you just go to the page when you think I'm on and just hit refresh. But what a bunch of suck. Orcus says I'm back up. The Discord. There we go. And I'm on a Mac, so it's important when I do Control Q, I'm on the right window, or else I'll just tank the whole stream again. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. I know there's times where I'd be like, man, screw this, and then just go on to something else. So you guys are something else. I gotta tell you, you're better people than I think. Well, we'll see how long this lasts. So there's a couple things that are at play that might be contributing to this. I have OBS and I have vertical plugin or a vertical option. So when I do vertical, I'm recording twice and streaming. I don't know if that is playing a role. So it helps me do my shorts. And right now I'm not recording on the vertical side. I have recorded on the vertical side, streamed and recorded normal. And there was no complaints before. So I'm not quite sure what is going on. Oh, and that's interesting too. So the plugin I have for the fancy dancy stuff is like, dude, this something's amok. I think I think I'm getting a taste of what it's like to be a Windows user, where it's like there's these like all these different parts trying to work together, and then it just crashes or overextends. So the Chrome extension that I have for the fanciness, like it disappears out of my Chrome browser. So I don't know if that extension's overly reliable. Like, well, what is going on here? So I've had to install it, and then it's like, no, you have this installed. Technology. Okay, so then yeah, like the extension literally is, well, so much for that. No big deal. Much better. Whatever, Sean Jobs. Yeah, I wish. No, you're experiencing what it's like to be a Mac user, literally. True. I usually don't run into these issues. Same Sean's question, Sean's answer. D&D only runs on Apple. Anyways, for those that did not that missed the question, I'll repeat it, and I don't know if I can put it back in the video, but for shorts. But if you could change one thing in the RPG hobby, what would it be? What would it be? Sean's streaming. His technical snafus. Aw. Jeez. That's a whole lot of suck. It really makes me mad that plugin doesn't work. That extension or that overlay. But whatever. Didn't really hear your answer to mine. What was your answer to mine? What was that, Kelly? Tell you. Did you have a question, Kelly? What was it? Please share. Please reshare if you would be so kind, and I will make sure to answer it. I think I'm putting too much load on the OBS. The patience for people who can't remember roles and stuff. Yes. That I do remember your response. Was there a question to it, or? We don't have empathy usually by default, I don't think. That's the problem. So once we find out, like, there's people that I've interacted with online. Yeah, computer fire for sure. There's people that I've encountered online where the first reaction is like, what is this person's problem? And then as it continues and is more consistent, I'm like, there's probably something going on. She's saying your commentary on that and all of that didn't come through clearly before. Ah, okay. Sorry. Yeah, it's a mess. My whole stream's a mess. So let's start. Hey, take two. From the top. Let's go, people. So the commentary, yes, I apologize. It's all coming down to like empathy and people not knowing, really. I think we're quick to judge, if you will. And so once we find out or realize that there's something else going on, then I think people are relatively understandable, but they aren't initially. The ones that are usually saints. Like we look at them and go, oh, she's such a saint. Good morning, Vision. Well, I feel better now that I can see the stream looks much, much better. I'm overloading OBS for sure. That's me. I'm a power user. I power use. So, hey, software devs, get your stuff together. Mine, I don't know if you guys got my take, which would be kind of the factions, the quick to take things way, way, way too seriously for a hobby. And I think there's tons of hobbies. Like Brett and I've talked, and he's like, the hunting space and bow and arrow space, like everybody, hey Caverna, everybody in each hobby has their troublesome issues, things, right? And sometimes it has to do, they're very similar. So it doesn't really matter. It's not RPGs necessarily. It's just, hey, you're playing that wrong. Or if you play that game, that's dumb. You're dumb for playing that game. Or, all kinds of stuff. Like just tune into Twitter any week in the RPG space, and it's usually something. It can't just be whatever. Yeah, I think I lost everybody or half the audience in like 10 minutes. That's fantastic. What are you going to do? Let's get on to something. We're into stuff. Let's talk on what's going on. Bring up some info. Right. Dude, I deleted my Facebook account. Twitter, I don't mind. Twitter, I think, on a side note, I think if you curate it and you don't follow people, and then the minute somebody that you follow is kind of like, it's getting old, just unfollow them or mute them. I don't know. It's hard to follow good accounts. I had one philosophy on Twitter where it was like, I'm not going to follow any corporate accounts. Like any business, I'm not interested. It's just more about the people. And then I realized that's probably the opposite. Like I probably should just follow like all the publishing houses and see what they're putting out and do announcements and da-da-da-da-da. Use it as an RSS news feed, I guess. But Jason Weitzel, a better solution for handling player and GM absences would be his one thing that he would want to change in the RPG hobby. Yeah. There's a guy I follow on Twitter. I've known him for years. He used to live here in Wisconsin. I just recently connected to him because I'm like, oh, he's on Twitter. I'll follow him. I'm not on Facebook. And he's a big Warhammer guy, 40K miniatures, bit huge. Just probably read all the books, RPG lover, probably of Warhammer, just loves that universe. And he was he was posting how he was going to play, or I was posting a game I was going to play. And then he said something like, I think like, it was like, hey, he was supposed to play that night and he couldn't because 2 people were absent or didn't show up. And I said, oh, that sucks. Like, that's really crappy, sucky stuff. And he said, yeah, that's one thing I can always pride myself on is that, if I'm going to be there, I'll be there. It's like some people just don't see it that way. I'm like, you got to find other people, man. Verna says, I believe we should have some level of seriousness. Yesterday, we had a player so goofy that it was really annoying everyone and breaking the tone of the game. Okay, I get that. Let me clarify that. I do agree because I played with a player like that. I'm friends with him, but I haven't played with him since. And it was comedy night at the Improv every time we gamed. It got old. Like one-liners, puns, just everything was a joke. So that seriousness that you're talking about, Caverna, totally get. The seriousness that I'm talking about, taking ourselves too seriously, would be the stuff that mingles typically what you find online and social media. It just gets to be too much. Like it's, the gatekeeping, if you're not playing this game, you're not playing a real RPG, stuff like that. Like the people that are getting completely uppity. And frankly, it's about usually other people's games. Like I don't care what other people are playing. It's probably not my game, or I don't care to play that game, or I don't care to buy games from that publisher because they're not my jam. That's okay. But for me to go out and say they're all trash, or, I guess maybe it's more negativity than anything versus taking ourselves too serious. It's just like loosen up. We talk in funny voices. Some of us dress up. We sit at a table, and roll dice and talk about what an imaginary character would do in an imaginary world. Like, I just, sometimes I'm like, what? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? All right, let's get into, let's see. Farsight Blogger, It's the Journey, Not the Destination, a blog page by Jonathan Hicks, writer, artist, and game designer. This is a game called A Dark Star to Sail By, a role-playing game of horrific encounters in the age of sail. Anybody seen this? So it's a role-playing game of horrific encounters in the... Well, I just read that. So they put in that subtitle. Anyways, the late era of the age of sail, which lasted from around 1850 to 1870, was a mighty period of maritime history as great vessels carried trade and war across the globe. As nations expanded and countries were open to the global market, whether the people of those countries wanted it or not, huge fleets of sailing ships dominated the seas and transported goods, people, and valuables. As steamships became the norm, the tall ship began to dwindle until they were nothing more than a romanticized memory. With these missing ships came the stories of their fate. Were the companies who owned them to blame? Were rival companies taking drastic measures to run their rivals? Murder? The supernatural? So A Dark Star to Sail By is a tabletop role-playing game that enables players to take on the roles of crew members on one of these tall ships, making their way across the vast ocean in service of a company or government with nothing more than themselves and the ship they are on for safety. Screw you and the ship you sailed in on. At the mercy of the weather and the winds, and with a healthy dose of uncertainty, how could they react when something happens that they can't explain? How will they survive it? With creatures arising from the depths, haunted ships, unexplained phenomena, and a terrified crew, what would the players do to find out what is going on and survive? I would say if you are a fan of maritime tall ships, this is the game to check out. I'm sure there's others, but nonetheless, there you go. I posted a link in the chat. What is it? Commander and... What's the Commander? Commander in Sea? So I don't remember what the movie was. It's probably good. William Thorpe, good to see you, man. Can't we all just get along? Have you met humanity? Right, Ryan? A Dark Star to Sail By. Gray seas are dreaming of my death. Gray seas are dreaming of my death. Master and Commander Blake. Thank you, Blake. Starring a famous Aussie. Yes, Master and Commander. Thank you. So if you're a fan of those movies, Muni on the Bounty, all kinds of stuff, then might be something to check into. Notice that it is not a pirate RPG. Although I imagine there are pirates that probably existed. So maybe they're probably injected into this game as well. But it's not a pirate game. It's not pitched as a pirate game, which I can appreciate. But Harrigan says, yeah, check out Gray Seas Are Dreaming of My Death as well, he says. Michael Holland reading recommendations. The narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket. Good for sea adventures and horror at sea. Very good. Thanks for sharing, buddy. Hicks does some decent work. I like those dark places. Dorcas of Titter Pigs podcast states. I don't know how it came up on my radar. It was probably in the news somewhere. It's like new or release. So thank them for putting it out. All right. Who has checked out the new look and feel of Roll20? Huh? Anyone? Bueller? No, we mentioned this before. It was kind of announced like, hey, we're making some changes, but they weren't live. Some might have been able to access it via a beta, but nonetheless. Blake says not yet. Blake, I'm relying on you. Kelly has. Kelly, what are your thoughts? I'm interested. Like, just good, bad, same, different, better, worse, helpful. a view months ago. Are there new updates? Well, now, yes, they're out there. Changelog. You could see an example of the font when using text tool. The preview as a player is now available and allows you to see what is selected token and exit the preview. I think that's the Foundry has one. If you select the token, it shows you the vision or the view of that token. I think that's what they're trying to say. Layers are now broken out into the toolbar, so you can easily switch between them and see which one you're on. Just always a struggle I had was like, what layers are things on? Upcoming releases: expanded measure tool and fog of war tool redesign. So clearer navigation, new layer system driven by you, feedback, which is great, right? And I have to think, like, I don't know if it's true, but now that they're all one company, drive through OBS and Roll20, maybe Roll20 is like, there's a money thing that's helping there do this, get stuff done. So Kelly says, ran a game last night. So far, it's okay. Caverna says, I haven't. What about Foundry 11? Foundry 11, interesting. I'm going to mention that too since you brought it up, Caverna. But before I do, Robert Haight says, nonfiction book recommendation, The Wager, A Tale of Shipwreck, Mutiny, and Murder. The Wager, A Tale of Shipwreck, Mutiny, and Murder. It's fun on the high seas. Come join us on The Wager. I'm waiting for the game systems I run to update to Foundry version 11 before I upgrade. Pain points I had with using it. I try it out again. I don't use all that fancy stuff usually, but I like the new toolbar on the side better than the little one in the corner. Okay, that's Kelly's feedback from using it. That's cool. That's cool. Foundry 11. So some of you might have witnessed me and having my challenges in installing Foundry in a Docker container on my Synology NAS. I figured, what the hell? I want to see what it looks like, how it works, da-da-da. It seems snappier. Like I've run online games using Foundry, and I think I've run into some issues. Like Foundry just seems overly resource hungry, which is weird because I have it. So I got it working finally. If you're not familiar with all the tech stuff, Docker is like a container that you can put in. It's like think of it as a bucket, a virtual bucket that you can put software into, and it will run that software. Not all of it, but there's certain things you can do, like and it's anyways. You could set up a Docker container, put Foundry in it, and then Foundry will run as if it's running on a computer, if you will. Kind of but I'm having a hard time getting it to work, like, and having people be able to exit from outside of my network, which I'll see. I might just nuke it and call it a day. But when I did install it, it installed version 11. And when I first got on there, I'm like, what is this interface? I couldn't figure out how to create a world. Now, granted, it had been a little while since I had, but yeah, I'm not using 11 in production in my games yet. I probably won't. But in the Docker space, literally all you have to do when you set up the environment, there's variables that are automatically populated, and it usually populates the latest version, stable version. But if you know that you can use 10.291, then you can just change it from 11 point whatever to 10.2.291. And that's what I did. So I installed 10, and it's fine, and it's great, and it uses like very minimal CPU and very minimal RAM, which is great. So I don't know, maybe it's just the ability that Docker has in running it makes it smoother. But we'll see. Just create a container for Foundry, and another one is a reverse proxy. That's good to know, Caverna. I think I've been dinking around with my router. I've dinked around with some network interfaces. It's not port forwarding. It's not working. So the reverse proxy is probably the way to go. So I'll have to take a look at that. Thank you for the advice. the first few weeks after a major Foundry version drops is just awful. It is completely awful. It's terrible. Don't upgrade. Jason Weitzel says Roll20, the tabletop improvements are good, but I struggle with their marketplace/commerce system. There's something not quite clicking yet between Roll20 and OBS, but eventually it will. Yes, I agree. That's probably the make or break. William says, Sean, at some point I'll have to get you to walk me through getting Foundry on my Synology. I might be a while before I'm ready, though. Oh, William, I'll tell you how easy it is. I get kicked my ass, but I can tell you how easy it is. I've gone through. The only trick, William, is I haven't gotten it to be accessible externally. But it's like literally install Docker in DSM. And then when you go into Docker app, you can't, the dashboard, there was a like they kept saying you have to install Docker Compose, and I don't think you do. Yeah, I'll make a video, right? Sure, Raj, I'll make a video because like I do that all the time. I could. There is a good one out there, but it's a little dated, so some of the interface is different. That's the problem with making like tech videos is like, oh, I made one. It's good for like until the next update when they change everything and where it's all at. So too many other projects first. Yeah. But it is easy. It's like installing, if you ever used Linux and you have a repository, like a list, right? And you just go into that list and pick the app that you want. It's literally that easy. So they have one that's in that list that's for Foundry. You have to put in 3 for sure variables. Foundry _ username, Foundry _ password, and then Foundry _ admin _ key. And that's Foundry credentials, foundryvtt.com credentials. And then the key you leave blank because that's going to be your or you put in a password, but that will be your admin password when it installs Foundry. And that's it. And then you start it up. And then you just go put in your IP address in a browser window with port 30,000 if you use the default, and it'll come up. Ask you for your admin password. Put it in there, and you're off and rolling. There's a directory you have to make that you point to, but that's it. It's very simple. That's it. All right. So Roll20. I have not checked it out. I'll have to check it out. Sorry about that tangent on Foundry. Let's see. So there's part of me that some people have said fantasy RPGs, Sean, blah, 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 DCC. Yeah. And people have said that they have an appreciation for the Lankhmar version of DCC and some of the things it provides. So they have a bundle of holding, or a couple out there, that I contemplated getting. The only thing is that I'm wondering if I should get the print copy or the bundle, because I think if you get the print, you get the PDF with it. So the struggle is real. But this, if you're interested, there's the starter collection for like $15. It's usually close to 50. You get the DCC Lankhmar boxed set in PDF, Gang Lords of Lankhmar. And then the bonus collection, if you get up to like $25, you get 6, 7, 8 more product titles. And then if you go into Lankhmar Thieves, there's a couple more things that you can get. So if you are a fan of DCC or you're DCC curious, but you aren't a big fan of some of the more, some will say gonzo elements, or the more, say, fantastical elements of DCC, people have said Lankhmar is more to their taste. It's not as fantastical, or AKA gonzo, if you will. So something to check out. Thought I'd put it out there. Joseph Goodman, the DCC gang, they're just a good group. In general, very welcoming, and definitely a decent fantasy RPG if you haven't checked it out before. So let's see. Orcus Dorcas, well worth it. I would recommend the print copies if you can get them. Good to know. Thanks, Orcus Dorcas. I don't know. I guess I can get it to the store. I don't know if it's still in print. That's the only fearful thing, or that's the only thing I fear about some of the smaller publishers. To do a print run, you got to wait a while until they redo it. Michael says, looking at Roll20 now for the UX, this is definitely a step in the right direction. Yeah, I'm sure it's a lot better. Like, how could it be worse? Really? I mean, come on. So I don't know if it's worth giving this individual some spotlight time. I don't know what controversial horror author Brian Evenson, I don't know much about him. So ignorance, right? Apparently there was a BYU controversy in which his novel, Altman's Tongue, prompted complaints from the restrictive university. As far as I'm concerned, if there is a religious component that paints somebody as controversial, no offense to organized religion, but they tend to scrutinize things that sometimes I'm not wholly in agreement with. So, on the other hand, if this person was, a Nazi or a pedophile, I probably wouldn't want to talk about his background or books, but nonetheless, judge for yourself. He's doing some severed books, I think is his jam, with more than 30 Kickstarters under their belts. Have Evenson as the setting author of The Dark Glinting with Metal. The Dark Glinting with Metal is the title. The book is a Merkborg adventure, designed and illustrated by Justin Siroy. Oof, sorry, Justin, butchering your name. So if you're interested, Merkborg Death Metal, there's the rules for The Dark Glinting with Metal. You need the rules. I mean, from the top, folks. You could get the Merkborg rules and free to download if you want to, for The Dark Glinting with Metal. But it looks kind of cool. $12 or more will get you the PDF version of the adventure, and then the combo hardcover PDF as well. So the collector's box, there's a collector's box edition. So I'll put this, I should probably just link to the Kickstarter. Here we go. Let's see. Does anybody else know about the controversy this person was involved with? If you don't, that's totally understandable. There's the Kickstarter. Goal of 5,500. It's at 10,000. So if you're a Merkborg fan, check it out. Bold and unsettling. Evenson is an expert at evoking a nightmare world. This module has everything I want out of Merkborg campaign. It's darkly surreal and thought-provoking. It transports the player to a world charred black as midnight, and the horrors encountered there won't easily be forgotten. If you are not a fan of that, this is not for you. Just say that. Let's see. Lara Croft. Tomb Raider fans, did you guys get a wind of this? Central Dynamics took back control of Lara Croft from Square Enix earlier this month. There's been no impact on the official Lara Croft tabletop RPG, which was announced during the 25th anniversary celebrations for the game. The download bundle contains 250-page RPG by Matthew Gaston and the 74-page mark of the Phoenix campaign. The system uses D6, 1 per point of competence a character has, and successes are greater than the challenge target number. The RPG was officially signed off by Crystal Dynamics when Matt Gaston, who works there, made the case they should do it. I think there's a link to the zip file, which I don't want to download. So I will just give you the URL to this article, and you guys can grab it if you want. D6 is making a comeback, baby. You know it. Lara. Did I say Laura? Lara? I say Lara Croft. Gabe Dibbing. He's laughing at the D6. Bring it back. Bring it back. Did we ever lose it? I mean, really? Seriously? It's like in a lot of games. Bringing it back. Was it ever lost? It's like D6. I've been lost, but now I'm found. Documentary. D's and D's. Done by Time Magazine, Time Studios, and Canopy. Stop. I haven't watched it yet. Come on. Stop. Of course, there's no... Yeah, this is not going to work. I'm going to just stop it here so I don't get DMCA'd. But there is a documentary by courtesy of Time Studios. It's 40 minutes about the history of D&D. It has Deborah Wall in it. One of the folks from Critical Role, Liam, I think, was in it. A couple others, faces that you might recognize, and some faces that you won't. Kind of a, who knows? I don't know. Might be good. I'll check it out. It's 40 minutes. We'll see. Let's see. Badge. Hey, if you like this video, like it. If you don't like it, don't like it. Like, unlike it. Thumbs down before you guys take off. Free Vaesen League. Free League. Vaesen, the Lost Mountain Saga. So if you are a Vaesen fan, and if you're not, you should really check it out. Seriously, Brett and I did a show on it on Gaming and BS. I haven't played the game, but I think it's a good game, and people that have played it and run it have appreciated for what it is. If you're not familiar with Vaesen, it's really based in Swedish fairy tale horror. It's, some people say, oh, it's like Cthulhu. Well, not really. I mean, there's probably elements like you play investigators. You know, there's a home base that you work out of. It's D6 based, like Year Zero engine as far as rules go. But it's, yeah, it's something to look into if you like those types of games. And then they've obviously expanded. Is there a Free League game that is not good, Caverna? That is the ultimate question. That is the ultimate question. I do think that, look, being critical of Free League, because being a fan, I'm also not blind. They probably do some things better than others. But yeah, for sure. The Lost Mountain Saga yesterday and received the PDF. Reading this week, Michael said. Yeah, it's good. It's good. So check it out. They have one for Britain. And this one, so there's good stuff. Phil McClory, who's not in the chat, I don't think. He's done an actual product. It's in drive-thru if you want to check it out. He's a big fan and has written an actual scenario for Vaesen. And in the Vaesen piece, I think that's unique. Hey, you get out of there. Go. Get down. Be a good boy. Folkcore, thank you. Folkcore. Folkcore, highlighting the industrial world versus nature, yeah. So you can't usually kill Vaesen in this game. Spoilers. It's not the point. There's something that's spurring them to do their thing. And the thing is about Vaesen, that's what they're called, right? These folk horrors, is that they're spurred or spawn based on something that's going on in that area, and you have to kind of uncover it, and you just don't confront it and kill it. And the uniqueness about each Vaesen is that they are unique. Like the stat blocks aren't all the same across the board. Okay. Which makes it kind of interesting because sometimes as we've played a lot of RPGs, oh, it's a troll, put some oil on it and burn it. Because we as players all know, our characters know every monster that they come across if you play a typical fantasy RPG. Or even Call of Cthulhu for that matter sometimes. But Vaesen's pretty unique. And it has a good, in the back, they're called mysteries, and they're very good at helping I don't know the game master's title in that, but the game master come up with different mysteries for I think it's mysteries, right? For the group to explore or investigate, if you will. Cavernus says, I see they've been improving YZ engine in every game that they released. I don't know if it's improving it as much as like catering to the genre or setting or IP, right? I need to talk with my hands more. Love Free League, but I'm not a fan of IP-based RPGs. That's obviously a major part of Free League. Yeah, but I mean, they do have I mean, yes, they are heavily IP-oriented, but Coriolis is theirs. Vaesen's not, is it? Vaesen's not theirs. Year Zero, Mutant, Year Zero. I mean, Tales from the Loop, kinda, but that's mostly from our artist. But yes, you're right, Wayne. They are heavy IP. But Symbaroum? I don't know, man. I don't know. Nubis says, I pitched Vaesen as nature versus man manifesting during industrialization. Player said he'd rather fight on the side of nature. Made me wonder if there's a game with that theme. Can that be Vaesen? Maybe. Probably. Cavernus says, I said improving YZ because they created for The Walking Dead better rules for combat. Interesting. I haven't looked at that yet. They do own tons of IP for sure. All right, what else? Pathfinder. What? No more drow. Just happy my stream isn't a complete mess. Although I still don't think it's as smooth as it should be. So Pathfinder retcons drow out of the game lore due to move away from OGL. Boy, that whole OGL thing was quite a wake-up call, wasn't it? Because they're like looking at everything now. Which, what has changed? Like, I don't know, man. Maybe the OGL. Many of the problems the PCs have to solve in Vaesen are about mankind's mistakes. Yeah. So Pathfinder's dropping the drow or dro, if you will, as part of a wider rework of the game and lore necessitated by Paizo's move away from the OGL. During PaizoCon 2023, which just kind of wrapped up a week or two ago as of this recording, being recorded June 3rd. Into the Darklands panel, Paizo creative director James Jacobs revealed that the drow would no longer appear in Pathfinder books due to Paizo's move away from the open game license, which allowed them to freely use and adapt the lore and characteristics of drow from other OGL books. So there you go. Yeah, that makes sense. Drow will effectively be replaced by serpent folk in the Pathfinder lore as the villains of the Darklands, with most drow cities and Galarian maps now becoming serpent folk strongholds. So interesting, right? Like, if you have digital, you want to re-download your digital books, they'll be changed. But if you got printed, it's like the deities and demigods, right? Removing all the demons. And Lovecraft. Yeah. Nubis, I think I think with Vaesen, like I said, I haven't run it, and I know some of these guys in the chat have, but to remove a Vaesen from an area, you kind of have to find out why they're there. And it's usually that they're protecting the nature, so you would want to like facilitate, how do I put this? If man, generic man, comes in and is going to bulldoze a forest, it could wake a Vaesen. If you're in favor of nature, then you would side with the Vaesen, but it's not about bulldozing the forest at that point. It's to negotiate the Vaesen or get man not to bulldoze the forest, I think would be like a one avenue or perspective. I think that's, so I don't know if that helps with the person who wants to, because I don't know if you're not up against the Vaesen. I mean, you are, because you're called in to investigate like this supernatural thing, but you can't just go in there and kill it and remove it. Like, that's the trick. So how do you win? And it's adjusting to that, I think. Michael says, I think this issue is being overhyped. Drow is barely in the core books. No mechanics tied to it. It was probably a 10-minute edit job. It's also one of 1,000 things they are removing. Yeah. Well, it might be overhyped, but if it's OGL and they can't use the OGL, then that's going to be an issue. You know, the SRD has, I think, Beholder listed, but I don't think you can stat it out or put it in a product. I don't know. I think it referenced a Beholder, but didn't say it was part of the OGL or SRD. I get it. I think it's very specific D&D term. It's like Beholder, Drow, Mind Flayer. Man, companies got to stay away from that stuff now. What a mess. Did everybody know Nintendo made a custom Zelda TTRPG for Critical Role? I'm struggling to remember the names of any of the non-WotC OGLs that emerged out of the OGL gate. Well, and I think if you go with Cobalt Press, you're probably pretty safe. Even they, with the OGL, like I think all their Tomes of Monsters, like that's all theirs. Michael says, I don't disagree. They're also removing chromatic dragons and a bunch of OGL stuff. That's the story. No need to focus on Drow. Yeah, for sure. Yes, you're right. Yeah, okay. I got what you say. What's the difference between Drow and chromatic? They're not talking about chromatic dragons. All right, yes, I get it. Legend of Zelda tabletop RPG exists, and it debuted last night, this past Thursday, during a special Critical Role one-shot. Set in the world of Hyrule. I never played Zelda. There you go. Take my geek card, I guess. I've never played Zelda. Not a single one. You call yourself a nerd. You call yourself a gamer. What? Sponsored by Nintendo of America and featured the voice of Ganondorf himself, Matt Mercer, leading a group of players through an adventure. I don't know if you guys knew this was PBTA. PBTA, yeah. The game is powered by the Apocalypse system. It doesn't need a formal license to be published. The creators of the system have an open game policy that requires only mention of the Apocalypse world in the credits. So the main holdup is solely on Nintendo's end and whether they want to put an official Zelda TTRPG for fans or keep it locked away in their vault. You guys interested in getting that? Even I know Zelda was a girl. I don't know. I never played Zelda either. Solidarity, Kelly. All right, sweet. We're on that island. Our Orcus Dorcas, we have removed drow and beholders and will now have cow and behandlers. Yes, because it's the handshake is in the hand of the behandlers. A promise? Promise is in the hand of the behandlers. Oh, I didn't know that. Wayne says Vaesen are actually more tied to mankind than the natural world. I think the game is more about industrialization versus folk beliefs. Yeah, see, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about. That's why people are come here to correct me, for sure. And should, by rights. God knows I need it. Zero interest, Orcus Dorcas says, would rather play the Wendy's RPG. Hey-o. All right, then. Sweet. Sweet. Here's The Adventure Never Ends. That's the YouTube video documentary. So this is news by EN World. Not a lot for this one, but we'll go through it any quick. It's Pathfinder GM Core and Player Core. Second edition. Advanced Player Core and Advanced GM Core. And it'll be GM Core Advanced Player's Guide. And then Pathfinder 2e Player's Guide Core Advanced GM Guide. Yeah. At least the names are pretty self-explanatory. So, that's some Paizo news. OpenRPG, they put out like the third draft, apparently. It's all provided redline versions about the ORC license and the AXE, which is Answers and Explanations FAQ. Some clarification included in all that. Paizo and BKOM Studios launched a Kickstarter for the video game Pathfinder Abomination Vaults. Apparently, this is going up against like games like Diablo. It even says that explore similar to games like Diablo franchise and the classic Gauntlet arcade game. Valkyrie is about to die. Wizards of the Coast launched their annual Pride fundraiser store. The One Ring Tales from the Lone Lands, available for pre-order. Tales from the Lone Lands, the first One Ring is the first for the One Ring is the Adventure Compendium. The book features the adventures of Trollhole, if ever there was one, kings of little kingdoms, messing about in boats, not to strike without need, wonder of the northern world, and the quest of Aemon Garuthos. Vaesen, we already mentioned. The Lost Mountain Saga. That's it for like news, man. The Red Wizard is about to die. Yes. Blue Warrior needs food badly. Cavernus says PF2 Remastered should be called PF 2.5. It changed a lot of stuff. Interesting. Like, I can't even keep track of anything anymore. Lots of shake-up in that OGL space, man. Print news. Go to print news for EN World. Check out EN World at enworld.org. Feed us your quarters. Oh, the old arcades, man. Ah, man, do I miss the old arcades. I really do. Go up there on Sunday nights when nobody was in there. Spaceport for the win, baby. RPG print news. Miskatonic Lower Library DM screen for D&D 5th edition. This thing is 40 inches long. 40 inches. Well, I suppose. It's a 4-panel. If it's 8.5 by 11, okay, 40 inches long, 8.5 inches high. I get it. $20. I find plenty of weird RPG items for sale while writing this column, but a Miskatonic University Library themed screen for D&D DMs is weirder than even finding cocaine and alligators was. Cocaine and alligators? I am intrigued. You guys listen here. This is probably more. This is more well worth the itself. Noble Knight Games. Cocaine and alligators. It's out of stock though. Just letting you know. Did you guys ever play cocaine and alligators? 36 backgrounds for Troika, a short adventure, and a bunch of wild stuff based on actual Florida man headlines and the author's experience living in Florida. Content warning: book is for adults only and is meant as satire. Use safety tools and keep it light and fun when you play. I don't remember if I've ever brought that up. I cannot talk anymore. People don't mention it much, but DOGL'd books and games mean the opportunity to sell more books and games without getting sued, apparently. The original Cocaine Bear RPG for sure. Arcanus, Codex of the Mind. It's a 5e supplement. Some DCC stuff. Around the Common Fire, the Coin Swallower, the Outlier, the Canine, the Bruiser, Breaker Press, trifold pamphlet for adventures / softcover zines for classes. It's like $3 for the adventures, $5 for classes. Abyss of Hallucinations, Volume 2 by Merc Berg. Thought we touched on that when it was a Kickstarter, maybe. It looks familiar. Softcover 2 color cover with white and gold iridescent ink on pink cardstock and saddle stitched with white staples. $25. Ah, yes, we did go over this. It was like Kickstarter, I believe, because it says setting inspired by Aleister Crowley, Book of Lies. I remember that coming up. It includes 6 abhorrent enemies, 7 new location descriptions, new Thelemic series with a final Liber 7, was it verse 7, page 7, whatever. Occult treasures, ritual components, D77 corpse plundering table, the Skidoo N, where everyone is welcome but no one is allowed. Guidelines for running hex crawls in the abyss, and a zine index for quickly finding content between the volumes. Hey, Chris, good to see you, man. I think I missed the boat on DCC. Really? I should probably go back and get some of that stuff and run the game. Weird Fantasy is one of my favorite things. Yeah, core book, man. That's all you need. You're good to go. Trapped in an Endless Ikrala by Exalted Funeral. Luminal Horror is the system. So if you're Liminal fan, softcover supplement, $10. PCs are shoppers trapped in the biggest box store of all time, somewhere outside of reality. Oh. They fight mimics that resemble cheap furniture but pack quite a bite, and they encounter mysterious mannequins who seek to pass for human. Other shoppers can be friendly or extremely hostile depending on what they have experienced. Can be run as an action-packed one-shot or as a slow and methodical survival simulator taking into account food, stress, and long-term injuries. All right. Fabula, Ultimate Core Rulebook. Fabula. Unique system. Inspired by Japanese-style console RPGs, would-be heroes face fearsome villains in epic battles set in fantasy worlds brimming with magic, wondrous locations, and uniquely bizarre monsters. That is it for that. Print news. Crowdfunded news. Thanks to EN World for this stuff. enworld.org. Check them out. First one, Kaboa, the South American 5e, PF2, and CFR setting. CFR, help me out. Oh, too many acronyms. Tales of the Valiant Path. That's Tales of the Valiant? That's what they're calling it? CFR? No. What? Fantasy setting inspired by the stories and cultures of South American indigenous, Afro-Latin, and Mestiz peoples. Or is it Mestiz? Oh, man. Learn to read, Sean. Designed by a team of expert South American designers, writers, and artists. Totally funded, smashed it, crushed it. It's going. 5 days left. EN Publishing, another Kickstarter for their Epic Threats high-level monsters and NPCs for D&D 5e. Although it's not for their, it's got to be for their, they got to have it for their own, right? Epic level 5e, whatever that they do. Met that goal. Dungeon module GG2, Tomb of the Dundle Chief, by Eric Garland and Heidi Gygax. Heidi Gygax, daughter of some guy, sister to another Luke, GG. This is for 5th edition and AD&D and or Castles and Crusades. $39 for the PDF and print versions of the book, plus some extras. Eric would be Heidi's spouse. So after the success of their Till Death Do Us Part Kickstarter, the creative duo of Gaxland are back with a longer, more perilous adventure. It's funded. The printing is old school with a detachable cover to give this Gygax feel. The Gygax feel. Monsters, Merkburg! Supplement from Christian Eichhorn. €16. 48 pages with over 20 monsters, each awful and illustrated as only Merkborg monsters can be. It's heavy, it's Mel Gaiman. If you need monsters for Merkborg or even Cyborg, never going. We brought this up before. Probably earlier in the campaign, actually. The +1 system. 46 grand of 20 grand limits or goals. Pathfinder, Wake the Dead, Starfinder, Angels of the Drift, Pathfinder by Dynamite Entertainment. Pathfinder 2nd edition and Starfinder graphic novels. $15K funded at 28. Tales of Asunda, Fantasy Anthology Series, Issue 3, Monsters. That is an interesting cover. Ooh, risky. Risky. That is risky. How did they get away with that? How did they get away with that? Like that, I think it's like, what a catch-22 that would be. Your Wizards of the Coast, cease and desist, gets out. Wizards of the Coast is suing this Stranger Comics slow, Pathfinder 1st edition. That's the system was for. It's a comic book. Ooh, I don't know, man. Why spotlight this campaign? Niobe, the half-elf hero of Stranger Comics' fantasy setting, has 5 new issues of her series available. Among them is Tales of Asunda #3, which features an homage to Larry Elmore's classic D&D cover by Sheldon Mitchell. Niobe and Her World were converted to Pathfinder 1E by the Paizo team several years ago. Each issue of these series offers new exclusive Pathfinder 1E material you can bring into your own campaign. Oh man, that is an interesting cover. What's up, Murder Hobo Show? Gaming locations. For the next 4 campaigns, I'm sharing them as a group in order to highlight some tabletop gaming locations on Kickstarter that may be in your neighborhood. These are gaming stores and tabletop conventions that offer the opportunity to dice and enjoy your fellow gamers. Ranging from the US to the UK, these campaigns show the broadening locations of tabletop gaming. So this one's Hex and Company Squared, bringing tabletop games to Union Square. That'd be in New York, New York. Looks like they are funding, I guess a con? Is that a con? Oh, it's an FLGS, sorry. Project Type, duh. Friendly local game store on Broadway in New York, New York. 5K goal. All right, so people want a local game store down by Union Square. Tabletop Game Fest, Tabletop Gaming Convention in Virginia Beach Convention Center in Virginia Beach, Virginia. They are not funded. Yeah, 1 week to go, 8K. Interesting goal. Their goal is 8377. Huh. $900 people get there. The Dice and Balls board game and circus skills shop. That's in Nottingham, UK. That's FLGS. That is going to be not funded. TsunamiCon 2023, Wichita's premier tabletop gaming convention. Not funded. And not a lot of success in these hometown ones, unfortunately. So that was it for the crowdfunding. Did I miss anything else? Let me go through my list of stuff. I think I covered everything I had bookmarked for the weekend. Yeah, that's it. That's all everybody wrote. Orcus Dorcas, yes, Merkborg is great. Rules like the black metal aesthetic is perfect. Beautiful books, and Johan and Pell are both absolutely wonderful gents. Ryan says, seems like a weird time to be designing fantasy-based RPG supplements. You're making them for 1E, 5E, 5th Ed, Merkborg, and potentially CNC rule sets. Well, I guess it all depends, right? Like, you can love virtually all the Berg games. Third-party stuff could be a hit or miss. If so, what makes it so good? Chris, I was complimenting some of the folks that are in the chat. This is Cyborg. This is the limited cover. So there are 2 versions. And I will say this, and I think most of the folks in the chat will agree with me. There is a aesthetic that comes with the Berg games. The design aesthetic, in my humble opinion, is untouchable in the RPG hobby, in the RPG space. Oh, you have no idea when you say pretty. Every spread, unless it's a table, how do I do this? I got it. Hold on a second. I'm going to try this and see. I don't know if my lighting is going to be good enough. I'm almost probably not going to be. Good, because I need lighting down here. But I'm only going to show you this because I could probably pull up the PDF, honestly. Why don't I pull up the PDF? That's going to be easier. They're usually, the aesthetic is very much coffee table, like if somebody were to, it's like an art book. But instead of like having an art book, like say you had a picture or a photography book and it was big and white layout and the photos were black and white of different subject matter, Mörk Borg is like creatively like crazy. Yeah, if you have ADHD, the book will hurt your brain. Yeah, kind of, yes. Kelly is not far off the mark. Like it is strobe lights and Technicolor and black and white, and it's all over. So, typical RPG books, you got text. Maybe it's 2-column. If you're Pelgrane Press trying to annoy Sean and Phil, it's 3-column. Set in an inline art piece, text wraps around it. Headings are, consistent. Not Mörk Borg games, or books. They're a whole nother beast, good or bad. Like if you don't like that, then you're not going to appreciate it for what it is. Most of them are simple mechanics, right, folks? Like I haven't played I've played Mörk Borg. Thank you, Harrigan. And I have Cyborg. I do not have Mörk Borg. I'll bring up Cyborg because that's what I own. So it'll be real quick here. Yeah. And I will. This is going to be crazy if I can get this. All right. That is not going to help you, but actually, well, I guess I could open it with the browser. Bear with me. Bear with me. Rawr. Bear. Get it? It is not for everyone, okay? So this is the original cover. This is by Stockholm Cartel. I think Mörk Borg is. Many of the Borg games is the core set. So a few tables here spread throughout. This one happens to be a D66 table. So if you're familiar with D66 rules, it's kind of some of the D6 based Year Zero engine games do D66, which is just two six-sided. So you can come up with weather, infested items. This is a D10 table. So it's very old school in that approach, but you can see, if I wonder if can I do side by side on a browser? No. It's not really what I wanted to do. I was hoping to get them side by side because you could understand a spread. So so here's one page, right? This is all the credits. The beginning of a chapter. Like as I'm paging through this, you probably won't see a page the same twice. So there's the map. Look at all the typography is, here's some of the corpse. So it's kind of just a page through Cyborg. So you have to have an appreciation for, I think, the table-based approach, right? Roll a few tables, gives you some adventure seeds, very simple mechanics. But this is just Cyborg. Mörk Borg is more, it's a lot of yellow and black. Most of them have a dark bend to them. But what many people will probably tell you that appreciate some of these types of games, like all the Berg games, Kerrigan's obviously a fan, is that if you have the hardback, it's a whole nother ball game. It really is. And with that, look at this thing. And with that, a lot of the third party really embraces the trade dress that comes with these. So the previous, I don't know if you saw the Kickstarter that was based on or inspired by Aleister Crowley, Pink and Gold, pretty unconventional. It doesn't even look like a Merc Borg supplement, but it's different enough where you can go, oh, that makes sense. Like nothing's pink and gold. But when you have it's kind of weird. If you see it, you know it. You're like, oh, I bet you that's for Merc Borg. Or Cyborg or Pirate Berg. Say Borg. It should be Borg. The umlaut's on Merc. So Cyberpunk for Cyborg. Character sheets are, very simple. Here's the cash and gear, D8, D12 tables. Like, okay, so a D12 example on cash and gear. Roll 4, breathing mask, provides oxygen in gas or underwater. Pretty simple. But then there may be, where's the one that there was something I read that was kind of cool. Super lube. Let's see. Small roll of 10, small bottle of pulverized acid. Here's the abilities: agility, knowledge, presence, strength, and toughness. You roll 3d6 and use the table to generate ability scores from -3 to +3. Classless punks roll 4d6. And this is going back to you, Chris. You get rid of the actual score and you only use the modifiers. And it tells you, throw this away after getting your scores. Tests, what is this? Roll this in this game, it's roll d20 plus your ability score with the result equal to or greater than the DR. 6 DRs or CRs, DRs, whatever. DRs in this game. 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Normal is 12. Like that's it. Static. Pretty static. Pick it. Roll a D20. What is this? Mancer. This is a class, right? So you also have one of these. First one, then you could roll or you could just pick. One is a strange leaf-looking knife. Deals D4 damage and victims have to test toughness or bleed 1 HP for 6 rounds. Number 2, milk white eyes that see through lies. Look at this thing. What is this class? Burn what? I don't even know. Burn HAC? What? HVAC? Hacker. That's what it is. Burned hacker. Jesus. You can't even. It's like it goes on to 2 pages. Burned hacker is another class. So there's a table for you built an app. Roll a d6. Boom, boom. D4 nearby. Simple devices. Explode. D6 damage up to D4 targets. So yeah, I could page through this whole thing, but it is a interesting one. If you don't like this art style or these graphics, then it's probably not for you. If you don't like the table-based games, like I don't know if it's heavily based on tables. You could certainly make up whatever you want, but they're simple. It's a very simple rule set. There's not a lot of subsystems or things of that nature. Sean can't even read it. I know, man. It is. If it was paged like this, I could probably read it pretty easily. Yeah. So there. He was purposely trying to break layout rules. That's interesting. Johan's day job, a graphic designer, and it shows in every page for sure. Yeah. Almost all the rules are in the end pages. Yeah, for example, let's see if we can scroll. Like this thing is just something else. And it's what? It's not too thick. Digest size. Interesting enough. Probably doesn't have a page count or page numbers. No. Here we go. That's a table. 12, 7 to 8. 134 pages, and then in the back of the book, I think there's this scenario. Lucky Flight Takedown, which is an introductory heist. I should maybe run that for GameholeCon. But like, yeah. I mean, that's kind of like abilities and tasks, getting into trouble. I mean, this is like the GM screen. Tables. Equipment, combat, initiative D6. 1 to 3, enemies act first. 4 to 6, PCs act first. If you do individual, it's agility plus D6. Combat tests, it's pretty straightforward. Anyways. Yeah. Adrian, what's going on? Coming in near the tail end, my friend. So let's talk about it outside of personal preference. Objectively, the purpose is being met. Flows and draws the eye and where it needs to. Yeah. While being subversive to the rules of layout. Yeah. Cyborg. But even Merkborg was interesting because Harrigan ran us 4 of us through a scenario, and it is, it's the more grotesque, the better. Like I played a character where his background was that his mother was hanged, and I was the result of falling out of her uterus. Like my character, like it's pretty graphic. Ugly, nasty. It's like it's like taking a dip in black slime and being okay with it. I didn't have a nose, like you don't have a nose. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. Like deformities is, not unusual. So if you're not a fan of that, like darkness, gritty, I just imagine in the world of Merkborg, sun doesn't exist. It's just not there. And you're always dirty. Yeah. And we play it. There's an actual VOD. Oh, Adrian, yeah, this VOD, yes, catch it. But we played it online, and the video is here on this channel. I think I moved it over. I added your missing nose. Oh, you added it. Oh, that's funny, Harrigan. Nice touch. Gutterborn Scum. That's what I played. Caverna knows. Yep, Gutterborn Scum. That was me. Gutterborn Scum. That was the class I was. Fantastic. So... But again, not for everybody. I don't own any Merkborg, but I did get Cyborg. And I don't own Pirate Borg. There'll be a couple others. And then all the third party. And most of the stuff's free. Like you can go online to like just do a Google search for Merkborg, and you can auto-generate characters. The tables are all there. Isn't there some blacklight action in those books? Oh, probably. I mean... There would have to be, like, everything's like neon and stuff. So I haven't looked under a black light to see all the weird things that might stand out, but I think there has to be. I'm sure there is. Spine lettering glows in the dark on the original. I don't think this one does, because these are shiny, like glittery. But yeah, Harrigan's right. Blacklight on the covers of the original. Yeah. So there you go. Just ask and everybody will just chime in. Flood you with. Want that under black light? That would be a cool poster growing up, right? That would be a poster I would have in my room with the black light that I would get at Spencer Gifts. For sure. Cost $6. None of the board games have grabbed my attention yet. Eventually I'll get them, but so far no. Yeah, I get it. Like Merc Borg is, you have to appreciate it for what it is, even if you don't like the game. And I say appreciate, you don't have to like it, but you have to like look at the graphics and the layout and the things of what it's trying to convey. And it's like, it's so spot on for what it's supposed to be. But some people don't like that game. They don't like to play that type of game. And they don't like the layout or the art. But Proudfoot Underhill, good to see you. Would buy Pirate Borg someday. Yeah. Thanks for joining. Give me a like if you don't mind. Or you can give me a dislike. I don't care. That's fine too. Subscribe if you haven't. Sign up for notifications. Today's technical fiasco was a mess. So I had to drop the stream and restart it. And if you're subscribed, you'd get notified when that new stream starts. So, oh, sweet. Thank you. Thank you. I have not played PB and I haven't seen PB. Slew's a little more traditional. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Proudfoot Underhill. They're fun to look at for sure. Yes, for sure. That's it. Yep. But again, not for everybody. It's not for everybody. It's okay. And that's okay. But yeah. So I, just for sake of conversation, and maybe potentially wrapping up here in the next few minutes, thanks for hanging in there. Thanks for rejoining. I think a lot of people were like, screw it, technical problems, and bolted. That's okay. I totally get it. I'd probably do the same thing. Right now I'm playing Star Wars Fantasy Flight Games, running a one-shot, completely made up. I might put some of it to more formal paper and run it at one-shot conventions. I think it's pretty good. It's around assassination plot for Force 5, members of Force 5 squad. Having fun. Harrigan's part of that game. Wayne was here earlier. I don't know if he's still here. He might have bolted. He's in that game. I think there's a little clunkiness with the FFG game, but I think we're picking up a little steam. That's where, people understand, start to grok it. I think it's got some wheels, but it can be quite bumpy for if you haven't played it before. And then my Delta Green Impossible Landscapes is continuing. We haven't been able to play the last couple sessions, and we play every 2 weeks. So that's kind of on hiatus until we can all get together. Edwin Nagy is, he's got a convention coming up. Harrigan's traveling. So if you've watched or listened to the live plays and wonder what's going on, so things are a little bit delayed, but once we get everybody together, we'll pick it up and keep on trucking. I don't know how much more is left in that campaign. I'd like to wrap it up eventually. No actual play vid of FFG SW. I did not, Nubis. I have them recorded, but like earlier this morning, I ran into all kinds of issues with Foundry. Like it just took up Foundry and OBS at the same time. Was just like, what is going on? I don't know if you need a supercomputer to run these things or what, but it didn't go well. So I have them recorded. I'd have to edit the snot out of them. And I didn't think it would be that long. I think I ran 2 sessions and thought it was done. And these guys are like, can you run a couple more? And sure. So I've heard that the fans are looking forward to watch Forbidden Lands Season 2. Yeah, with the blood marches. Well, the thing is do we get to the Bitter Reach? We'll see. Adrian, I was having fun listening to your Delta Green game. Well, thank you for listening. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's going to get interesting. It is an interesting scenario. I'd like to run maybe some more Delta Green. And I think people have realized there's some talk on the Discord about 2D20 Star Trek Adventures. Myself, Harrigan, Gabe was in the chat earlier. Kevin, Saltheart, a couple others were kind of chiming in and out of that discussion. It's an interesting game, hopefully. I wouldn't mind getting it to the table and running it one session at a time. And having different crew members, and away parties, but we'll see. I don't know. No promises, but yeah. Hey, Gabe, he's still here. Good. Thanks, Gabe. So we're I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around that. The core mechanics pretty simple. I think a lot of people can crack that very quickly. It's when you start getting into more momentum to boost, to get more dice to roll and contribute, coming up with Star Trek jargon, trying to get power from the using a hydro spanner to get power from the flux capacitor with the antimatter chamber. Gabe's just about ready. Well, and there's a lot to absorb, and I say a lot to absorb. You don't have, talking to a guy who cuts corners all the time in RPGs, and that's why I don't know any of the rules for any of them. But I brought this book up on stream before. There's this one, and then the maroon one is over there. This is the player's guide. But all this is just all flavor stuff, most of it. It's like how to be a good player in the Star Trek universe. It covers a lot of different things. So if you really want to, I think Gabe's probably pretty deep. He's watching TV shows, and it's, what I like about some of the IP properties, like Mirko Froelich, friend, has a YouTube channel, Digital Hobbit. Some of you know him. And he did a video on IPs, and he's not a big fan of IP RPGs, and he states why, and I totally understand it. One thing I appreciate about some IP-related RPG stuff is if you were to, and you could do this, it doesn't even have to be an RPG that's based on an IP necessarily, right? You could watch any television show, movie, book, and tie some of the things that happen in a TV show or movie into like mechanics. That has always been something I've considered doing, which I think would be time intensive. And I don't know if it would gain the interest of a lot of people, but say, for example, you were doing The Empire Strikes Back, and you did a DVD movie game tie-in. So in other words, as the movie took place, you would run it like a Star Wars game. One person playing Leia, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, whatever. And then as you convey the situation, you'd have the player character actors at the table doing what's in the movie and then tying the mechanics to the results and the tests that are found in the movie. For Fantasy Flight Games, Star Wars specifically, it would be a great example of how, like, what is that result, right? What does that result look like? And you could tie it directly into that. Same with Star Trek, right? Like, Scotty in the engineering room, systems are down, Kirk's asking for more power. What does that do in a game? I need more power. Okay, that's the captain because he has this talent that allows them, that's the command talent, and that gives an extra D20 to Scotty's check because he's asking for more power, or whatever. And then Scotty has a trait, I'm getting all the terms mixed up, I'm sure, that says, like, I'm giving her all she's got, Captain. And that allows him to get another D20 to roll against the test, and then reroutes power, blah, blah, blah. And eventually they get through it. Mirko is, Digital Hobbit. Digital Hobbit on, I think it's Digital Hobbit. I don't know if it's Digital Hobbit or Digital Hobbit Musings, But he's a YouTube channel. I could probably find it and put it in the chat for him. But Digital Hobbit, yeah. Mirko. It's interesting. I've never seen an RPG where you play as original characters. That's an interesting idea. I sense, it's very hard. It's very hard in text, but I sense a little facetiousness in there. Yeah. But anyways, Star Trek kind of got my attention. Delta Green's always fun. Like Delta Green. One thing I'm mulling over in my head. No, I'm not even going to say it because I say things and I never do anything about them, so I'm not going to say anything. There's my teaser of the day. Damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a... Yeah. I'd have to look up McCoy. That might actually be one of his... Gabe's probably like, it's a trait, Sean. Or it's a talent. Like, I get all the terms mixed up. So we'll see. But I think this is coming to an end. I'm running out of gas. I'm going to start talking in circles, and you guys have better things to do. So I want to thank each and every one of you for coming and sticking with me through the garbage that occurred this morning. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah. Oh, you mean playing non-original characters. Got it. Yes, what's up, Aaron? Yeah, for sure. We do. Beers for sure. So thank to these folks that have been so nice to help throw me a few shekels each month. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, patrons. So if you'd like to contribute as a patron supporter, there's a link down below. Times are tough. I get it. Like, money is crazy nowadays in the economy, so nobody knows it more than I do. But anyways, go do something fun on this weekend or wherever you are. Hang around with people you appreciate. Do not hang around with people you do not appreciate. Game, spend some alone time, do whatever it takes to kind of put your head in the right space. You know, be a positive force in the RPGs, and then move, create, and learn. Hope to see you on the next weekend, next Saturday, where we'll stream here at 8 a.m. Central Time US. Again, talking about what's going on in the hobby, the question of the day. Yeah, I'll leave you with that. Thanks, everyone.